Tonight, Game 4, Spurs Blazers, 10:30 Eastern on TNT. Reggie Miller will be calling Game 4. He joins us now. Will this be the final game of the series, Reg?
This just in, the Portland Trail Blazers have been the first team in history to have an injunction where they can have actually 6 men on the court to play a particular game. So, yes, I do think they get Game 4 tonight because of that 6-man to help guard Tony Parker.
Okay. What do you do with Tony Parker? What is the book on how to at least control him, not or slow him down?
Well, number one, you've got to have size on him, which give the Blazers a lot of credit. They've thrown everything and the kitchen sink at Tony Parker. They started off on Damian Lillard. They had Wesley Matthews, and then they had Nicholas Batum, the 2 size guys on him. They tried to body him and be physical with him with Matthews, and they tried to length on him with Batum. All have not worked because of that high pick and roll and the dribble handoffs with Tony Parker. How about this? Let's give a lot of credit to Greg Popovich and the Spurs and Tony Parker. It's just better offense. It's just a better system going against a young upstart team, very talented, but a little green here. And I'm going to give all the credit to the to the Spurs, and just chalk it up to this is just a better team right now.
Did it mean anything to you that Michael Sam got drafted as a athlete, former athlete, locker rooms? Any impact when you heard that news?
Well, it means that I am now a St. Louis Rams fan.
Oh, okay.
That's all that means. I was excited. This is great. Listen, people, the world is changing. The world is changing. To me, the reaction, not only to him being drafted, but the reaction of him hugging and kissing his boyfriend, to me, is ridiculous. You know, it's funny. And
Hey, Reg, hold on for a second. Let me get a better connection here. You're popping a little bit, and I want to get the importance of what you're saying here. Reg, we were talking about Michael Sam and that you're now a St. Louis Ram fan because they drafted him.
St. Louis Ram fan, and I applaud ESPN for the coverage. And I know a lot of people are up in arms about that, but it's funny because during the NBA draft, during the college draft for the NFL, you know, we love to show the quarterbacks with their hot girlfriends and the kissing and all that, and we get all off on that. Let this man celebrate with whoever he wants to celebrate with. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if that's who makes him happy, then that's great. Show it. I have zero problems with that. I applaud ESPN for that. That was fantastic. Let this man celebrate and be happy with who he wants to be happy with. People, come off your high horses.
The harder part for him to prove he can play football, or this adjustment to his teammates and the media coverage he's going to be bringing along?
I really don't think it's going to be the TV coverage. I think it's going to be football. I think that's where his biggest obstacle will come, and he will be tested. Look, whether he came out or not, people are going to say things across the line. That's just going to be the nature of the business. But I think it's all about football for him that he's probably going to be more focused on, as opposed to, well, hopefully people not coming to games and bringing signs, because that would be idiotic.
But do you think players will bait him, Reg, during a game?
I really hope not. This is a new day, people. Embrace it. Enjoy it. It should be all about football, as opposed to what his sexual orientation is. Can he help the Rams win?
Yeah.
I believe Coach Fisher never would have drafted him if they believed. Remember, this is the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. That's the little NFL, the SEC. So obviously this young man can play football. Let's judge him by his football talent as opposed to what he's doing on his off time. Because you do not become the SEC Defensive Player of the Year if you cannot play football.
What'd you make of Donald Sterling's interview with Anderson Cooper?
I have not seen it, but in my opinion, a little too late to say I'm sorry. If you were really sorry, as soon as that tape broke on TMZ, I've been the first one, running to Anderson Cooper or Barbara Walters and saying, look, it was me. I apologize. It's not me. How can I make this better? But to wait 16, 17, 18 days and then say, oh, by the way, I'm not a racist, it's a little too late for me.
Finish this sentence. If Donald Sterling and the Sterling family still owns the Clippers by the start of next season,
Well, they will own it by the start of next season. But I will say this: if I'm Chris Paul and I'm Blake Griffin, I go to Commissioner Silver and say, look, I know this is going to be a drawn out process because we have over $1 billion at stake here, and when you have that much money on the line, obviously the lawyers come out the woodwork. So it is going to be a fight, and it is going to be a drawn out process. But if I'm Blake, if I'm Chris Paul, I say, look, I'm going to give you a season to get this under control. And at the end of next season, if this franchise is not sold to anyone and no Sterling name is on it, we want to be traded. And not only do we want to be traded, we want to be traded to the team of our choice. You're not going to dictate where we go because was not on us. This is on you guys to get these people out of here. And we want to be traded to the team of our choice. That's what I would do if I played on that team and I was a star.
Well, Charles Barkley and Magic Johnson have both come out to say that if Donald Sterling or Sterling family owns his team, he doesn't think the NBA players will play. Do you think there'd be a boycott over this?
There very well could be. This will not be resolved quickly, though, and that's what those two have to understand. There's too much money at stake here. I mean, we're talking about over $1 billion for this franchise. Clearly, this is going to be this is $1 billion decision. And it's going to take some time because now you have the lawyers involved, and now you have a possible divorce decree coming in between Shelley and Mr. Sterling. So there's a lot of factors at play here, and it's going to take time. But within a year, they should try to find look, everything I've been hearing, there's like 8 or 9 billionaires waiting in line to buy this franchise. So finding an offer will not be the problem. It's whether they want to relinquish the reins or not.
We haven't had much drama in the second round, except for the Clippers and the Thunder. That comeback yesterday with the Clippers, and I'm trying to handicap this series here. It just feels like, that home court advantage here, because now you go back to OKC. Who wins this series?
I still believe OKC wins it because they have the home field advantage. But I will say this, because we are so quick to, and I am too, to criticize the players and what they are and aren't doing. Sometimes you got to look at the coaches too. In my opinion, Scott Brooks dropped the ball there in Game 4. There was 0 adjustments down the stretch, especially when Chris Paul was guarding Kevin Durant. And this is a game of adjustments.
They acted like Reds. They had not seen a lineup. Like they didn't even factor in that they could go small here with this lineup.
And it was. I was shocked at that because if you're going to put Chris Paul on Kevin Durant, then a lot of times the best player has to be the decoy. And you've got to get Reggie Jackson, Caron Butler, Serge Ibaka. Serge Ibaka only had 6 points, and he's supposed to be that, quote, after James Harden left, the third guy in rotation on that team. Those guys have to be involved, a lot like they were in Game 3. You can't just be, all right, we got a 6'10 guy against a 6'2 guy. We're going to go to it every single time. You can't do that. Doc Rivers is too good. He's too good of a coach. And the players, look, I give a lot of credit to the Clippers for coming back, but a lot of drop balls by head coach Scotty Brooks in that Game 4.
Steve Kerr going to take the Knicks job this week?
If I was a betting man, which I am not, but if I was, I would say absolutely 100% he takes the Knicks job.
Okay, have you been told your schedule could change with Steve Kerr during the playoffs, your TV assignments?
No, I've been told regardless of what happens, if he does take it or doesn't take it, little Stevie Kerr and I will be calling the Western Conference Finals with Marvelous Marv Albert. So I think no matter if he is or is not, I think he still will be working the Western Conference Finals.
Okay, so even if he takes the Knicks job, he will do the next round of playoff games in the West?
Yes.
You've been told that?
I have good information, Theodore, that he's going to be working all the way through regardless.
How good are your sources?
I'm not saying he is or he is not taking it, but if I was a betting man, I would say my little friend from Pacific Palisades, the gunslinger from Arizona, would be the new head coach of the New York Knicks.
If you had a shooting contest.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes.
What happens?
Shooting contest, what, by myself or versus who? Little Stevie?
Yeah.
I would take Little Stevie. I'd take Little Stevie down.
Top of the key.
Come on.
Okay, I just throwing it out. All right, I'm just throwing it out there.
Come on.
Who
What have I always told you? That is the last thing that will ever leave any shooter, in particular me. I will never lose my shooting touch.
Okay,
now,
what about free throw shooting?
I may not be able to keep you in front of me. Okay, I may not be able to keep you in front of me, but you are not going to outshoot me. Like in Fatal Attraction, you don't think I'm going to be ignored, Dan? No, I'm not going to be ignored in shooting. Okay.
What about you and Steve Kerr shooting free throws?
That's the same thing.
Okay.
I can shoot free throws in my sleep. So can you. Come on.
I know.
You're a shooter.
I know.
We can shoot free throws until we're like 85.
Okay.
That's what frustrates me during these games. Like when guys miss free throws, like even though the Pacers won that game, an unbelievable comeback, by the way, by the Pacers. We talk about OKC's and the Clippers comeback. How about the Pacers down 19 on the road and find a way to come back? That's pretty impressive. But they were like 6-4, 20 from the free throw line or something. I mean, how do you miss free throw? It bothers me. And good players missing free throws. Like when Paul George made a 4-point play. He made a three, but he missed a free throw. You've got to make that. You have to make that.
Who gets the Golden State job?
Oh, man. I will say this. Look, whoever gets it, they have a tough act to follow. And Mark Jackson had complete control of that locker room. And, look, players are not going to lay down for the next coach coming in. You know, I've been hearing a lot of that with Steph and Clay, and they'll be upset. No, these guys are going to play hard because it's your job to play hard. Mm-hmm. But it's just a tough act to follow because Mark had such a presence in that locker room. I think it has to be someone, that Steve Kerr was mentioned for that job. It can't be someone like that. It has to be someone who's already established in the NBA that, has a pretty good resume.
What about the Lakers?
Your guess is as good as mine.
It's pretty quiet, though.
It really is. I think there's so many. George Karl, Lionel Hollins. Even Steve Kerr was mentioned for that one. You've got to have someone who can compete on the same level with Kobe Bryant, because you're going to have to be in sync with Kobe, especially with Kobe's last 2, possibly 3 years. He wants to have a shot at winning that 6th ring, and you're going to have to be in concert with Kobe, for the next 2 or 3 years. So it's going to have to be someone who has a very strong personality, a lot like Kobe Bryant.
Kobe's not winning another title.
You don't think so?
No, I don't. I think it's too hard with the West and trying to get a roster together, and you do that over the next 2 years.
Certainly not the next couple of years because of their cap restrictions. They don't really have the type of players to do that.
And Pau Gasol is already talking about being traded, so I don't know what you get in return.
Well, that was before the D'Antoni dismissal. I think it's a wait and see now on who comes in, because now they'll probably go back to a traditional offense of letting him be a post-up player as well as a pick-and-pop player. That system, D'Antoni's system, was not great for Pau Gasol at all.
Not at all.
At all. He's not that type of player. Now, if he could shoot threes, he'd be great, but that's just not his player.
Before I let you go, it seems like every time I bring up Steve Kerr, I get, people react like, why is he the chosen one? Why is he getting all these opportunities here, whether it's Golden State, the Lakers, or the Knicks? Why?
Sometimes it's good to be in the right place at the right time. When Phil Jackson took over for the Knicks, there's been a lot of talk that he wanted to coach again. He says that he did not want to coach again, but his philosophies of running the triangle, what better guy than Steve Kerr, who won 3 championships with him? He could almost be like the Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley type relationship that they have in Miami, a guy that he can tutor, mentor, and have his philosophy ran through him. Steve Kerr is that guy. And then once all these other openings, we are a copycat league. So when it initially happened, it was only one team, the Knicks.
Yeah.
Now all the openings, Steve Kerr's name is being thrown out. It's being in the right place at the right time. If you're Steve Kerr, it happens that way. But it's funny because
when Mark Jackson and Doc Rivers were trying to get their first head coaching job, the knock was, well, they need coaching experience. They need to be an assistant first. They need this.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard a lot of that about Steve Kerr. Now, why is that any different, people?
I know.
If you're gonna say that about Mark Jackson and Doc Rivers, then why don't you say that about Steve Kerr too? I love Steve. He's my man, and I'm pulling for him. This would be a great opportunity for him. But come on, media. Come on, media. Say the same things you were saying about Mark and Doc about Steve Kerr too.
Reggie will be calling Game 4 between Spurs Blazers, a special dispensation. Blazers will have 6 players on the floor tonight against the Spurs. That'll be tonight on TNT at 10:30 Eastern. Thank you, Reg.
Theodore and my Dennis. I love y'all.
Reggie Miller, a Hall of Famer.